Welcome to Brainworms and Tangents. My name is Keresa.
And my name is Pamela.
And we're two 20-somethings with ADHD on a quest to chase our impulsive ideas we can't shake. This is a self-growth podcast that is all about becoming who you want to be, one brainworm at a time.
About 75 days ago, we had a brainworm to do the 75 hard challenge. Keresa, in a word, how do you think the 75 hard challenge went?
Bad. Yep, that's one word. How would you describe it in one word?
I would say my word is transformative.
Well, just like Andy would have wanted.
Yeah, I hate to say that I think it really did what it promised it would for me, even though I'll say it outright, neither of us completed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still had our separate journeys with 75 hard. I think even though we didn't complete it, there's a lot to dive into of what happened. Where should we start?
Well, let's just recap what 75 hard is. Obviously, if you haven't listened to part 1 about why we wanted to do it and we get more in depth into all the things, listen to part 1 before you listen to part 2. But essentially, 75 hard is a challenge made by this podcaster named Andy Frisella, which is for 75 days in a row, you have to complete 5 things every day. 1 is a gallon of water. 2 45-minute workouts, 1 has to be outside. Sticking to a diet, which includes no cheat meals, no alcohol, reading for 10 pages of nonfiction every day, and then taking a progress photo every day. If you miss any one of those, you're supposed to start over back to day 1. And by 75 days, you're supposed to be transformed.
And I do feel transformed. I think one of the first things that I experienced when starting it everyone was telling me how they felt about me doing the 75 hard.
Yeah, I think part of the thing of having the podcast is like everyone knew we were doing it. And I also felt the need to tell people that we were doing it.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, I probably should have done a little differently. But yeah, what were people telling you?
Well, when I would tell people I was doing the 75 hard, they would be like, oh, like what version? Like, are you doing the 75 hard? Are you doing the 75 soft? I'm like, I said the 75 hard.
Yeah, the original
I'm
one?
doing the full thing. And then like people had like a lot of ideas about what the rules were before listening to part 1, or if they didn't listen to our podcast. Like my one friend, when I told her we were doing it, she was like, oh, I would totally do it, but I don't think that I could do the 10,000 steps a day. And I was like, that's not a rule. So like, there's just so much misconception about what the challenge actually is. It was really interesting. I felt like Andy Frisella a little bit, like the way that he yells on his podcast of like, these are the rules and you have to stick to them. I was like, well, actually, he makes them very specifically because it's supposed to be a mental toughness challenge and it's not a fitness challenge. And I was like, oh, I don't want to spread the 75 propaganda, but like, I really felt like I had to educate everyone on like what it actually is.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I think that's when it became like a trend. It went viral on like TikTok and Instagram, and everyone made their own modifications. So it makes sense that people are like taking away bits and pieces and making up something else that's not even true. I think for me, it kind of goes back to that, like, it's a mental toughness, not like a fitness challenge. And people were like, well, why don't you just do one of those things? Or like, you should just start out with just going to the gym first. And I was like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm not trying to just go to the gym. I'm trying to do the 75 hard challenge. And they were like, well, if you're so stressed out, maybe you should just drink more water. I said, I appreciate it and I understand what you're saying, but that's not the challenge. It's like an all or nothing kind of thing right now. I said, that's how it goes.
Everyone wanted me to modify it. Like, everyone was like, oh, you don't have to do that today. And I'm like, well, I do. Or someone would be like, are you still not drinking today? I'm like, yes, for
It
the
was 2
next
days ago.
75 days, like, this is still happening. They're like, still? Like, but can't you just for today? And I'm like, no. And they're like, but like, no one knows if you don't complete it. And I was like, well, I know. Like, the whole point is it's
Yeah.
like something that I'm doing for myself. So it's like, I get why it's so hard to be disciplined with like people always in your ear being like, you don't have to
Yeah.
do that.
That's such like the angel devil on your shoulder. Are you
Yeah.
sure you can't just skip this workout? Are you sure you can't just have one drink? You're like, it's not the point. That's so weird.
Hmm. Were
Yeah.
people more supportive in your life?
Yeah, people were totally more supportive. I think again, some people could see like the effects it was having on me, and that's where they were like giving solutions, but their solutions were just to not do it. And I said, I hear you, but I'm trying really hard to try and finish this dumb challenge. But I think we talked about this before, but a lot of my like social outings that I do with my friends on a week to week basis are either at a bar or surround alcohol in some way. But like we do trivia at a bar, we have our book club that's hosted at a bar. And it was very interesting when people are like, oh, I'm getting drinks. Anyone want anything? And I'm like, oh, no, I'll just do water or something. And they're like, why? Or like, oh, 75 hard, right? Got it. Like, whatever. But it was interesting, I think, I guess to other people to like they like had a question like why I wasn't drinking. But it was fun. I have a lot of great friends, so they would like either tell people like, "Oh, she's doing 75 hard challenge," but I was like, "Don't tell them. I don't want more people to know and ask me how I'm doing when the answer is not well." Like, I don't know. It was interesting, I think, at the beginning because I wanted to tell people. Like, I have friends like that listen to the podcast, so they were fully aware of what was going on. But when they asked how it was doing, and at this point, like, I was not completing everything like I was supposed to every day, and I was just like, I don't want to talk about it. I appreciate you holding me accountable, but it got to a point where I was like, the accountability's gone. Now I just feel like this shame that I let everyone down. So, but
Yeah.
they were very supportive, which was nice.
I feel like the 75 hard it's difficult because it kind of kicks you when you're down. Like when you're
Mhm.
you're doing everything, but like once one thing slips, everything just kind of starts to crumble and it's really hard to pick it back up.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the sobriety aspect of it, and
Mhm.
I think that is a whole experiment in itself just because of the societal implications and social expectations
Mhm.
of drinking alcohol, where it was very much, it sounds like your experience too, where people needed a reason as to why I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
And like they were satisfied with like 75 heart challenge. That was fine. But it was just like, why? There must be a reason. And when you
Mhm.
think about the 75 hard and being like, what of these habits do I want to continue afterwards? You know, it would just be interesting if I just wanted to continue drinking with intention and saying
Mhm.
no sometimes, but not having the reason of 75 hard.
Yeah, I think it was nice because there would be times where I don't think I ever felt pressured to drink. That wasn't like my experience, which was great. And I think there was time where like we would go out and have fun. I didn't feel like a need to get a drink, like I was missing out on something, but I knew I would wake up the next day and feel perfectly fine, which was great. It was cheaper, and I think like I mean, as of right now, I'm still doing the 75 hard challenge. And for right now, I think for me, it's kind of just switched to like a 75 days of not drinking. That's like the one thing I've been consistent on with the challenge. So I've started to explore the different things that some of the bars have. So like all of like their non-alcoholic options, which I feel like we've probably come a long way. I don't think there's so many. There's non-alcoholic Guinness and Corona. I was like, how do
The
you
Corona is very good.
The Corona is very good. And I was like, how is this tastes exactly the same as a regular Corona? It's so interesting. I think you're right. Like people who don't drink for various reasons, I feel like they probably constantly have to explain themselves. And I don't think that we've set that up right in society. People can just know, like, you don't have to be pregnant or doing 75 hard or whatever. You could just choose not to drink, and that should be okay.
Like, pregnant women have to, like, pretend that they have alcoholic beverages when they're
Yeah.
pregnant. So it's not like tipping people off that they're pregnant because there's no other reason why they wouldn't be drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
And like what you said about like setting up society in a way where drinking is the default,
Mhm.
that's just so funny to me of in those situations, like someone could just not be drinking, but it's like, oh my gosh, they must be pregnant, or you must have some other reason. Um,
Yeah.
so we have not done it right.
No. No, and that was very interesting to see that, like, perspective while doing this. So overall, how would you say your experience was this time around?
So I was pretty successful. For me, it was really just about getting into a good routine, and I don't think it would have been possible without a solid routine. So for the entirety of the challenge, I was getting up at 6:15 every day, getting to the gym by 7 and doing my 45-minute workout, and then getting back home, and then between 8 and 9 getting ready for work, and then if I could sneak a outdoor walk in at work in the afternoon, if it was a slow day, then I would do that. Otherwise, I would do an outdoor walk like after work, outside. And then I just had to be really consistent about my water, of knowing how many
Mm.
bottles of water I had to finish by what time. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I have to finish at least 2 bottles before noon. And then if I'm ahead of schedule, I'll have finished 3. I did my reading before bed. My progress picture I tried to do in the morning. So just making it a part of my schedule rather than a choice that I made every single
Mhm.
time that I had to do something, because when I had to remember and choose to do each thing, that's where it was really challenging for me. I actually failed 75 hard on day 44 because I forgot to take a progress picture, which is so annoying. It it was just so frustrating because I had a checklist of the 5 things that I was doing every day, and I would have to just check it off. And I guess I just didn't check my checklist before bed that night and just went to bed, didn't check if I took a progress picture. So technically I failed. But the funny thing is, I was like, I'm just going to continue with the challenge. I'm going to continue doing it. And the next day, the very next day, I also forgot to take a progress picture. So I don't know if it's like you let your guard down and then it just like
It creeps up on
yeah,
you.
it was just strange. But I did continue through around day 60. And that's when I decided to purposefully end the 75 hard, because I had an extenuating circumstance in that my friend got second row courtside seats for the Indiana Fever. She won them in an office lottery. And this was just a wonderful once in a lifetime experience that I knew I was never going to have again. Those are like thousands of dollar seats.
Mhm.
And I'm all for discipline. I'm all for bettering yourself and improving your life. But I'm also not stupid, and I'm not going to throw away experiences in the name of
Yeah.
something that doesn't really matter in the long run. So I knew that I was still being dedicated to my goals, and I'm continuing, and I'm going to still continue. I still have continued from that moment. The rules of the 75 hard, but also I decided to also choose my social life and my happiness and my experiences. And I definitely could have made the rules work in that day, but also I could have a really great day and enjoy
Yeah.
myself, or I could have been worried about getting 2 workouts in while also trying to travel to this game.
And I think that's where, like, the habits you take away are, like, what matters. And I think we'll talk about that at the end, but I think it's okay, you know? But I think sometimes it literally felt like there was no other option but to finish.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was a lot.
Like, I think it's important to seek discomfort in order to grow. And that's like a different discomfort than just like genuine stress and
Hmm.
genuine unhappiness, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think you can tell the difference between the two and then be able to decide if you're doing something for the purpose of growth or if you're just doing something to be unhappy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of how where mine got to. Because
Hmm.
I think at the beginning, I don't think I had the same systems in place that you did. I don't think the routine element was there, which I think ultimately led me to be unsuccessful. But the first few days, I was like, this is great. I can't believe, I drank all my water. And mind you, I had just got off a 7-day cruise where I was drinking every day casually. I had started reading ahead of time with you so we could be on the same book together. I drove from Florida, so literally came back and jumped right in. I said, I have to start this day. This is the day I said I was going to start, so I'm going to start. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Similar to you, I was doing my outdoor walks, either if I had time in the day or after, was just consistently drinking water all day. I switched from my hydro flask to a non-insulated water bottle because I thought that it was too cold. I said I can't.
I also that is one of the biggest changes for me is I went from coldest water to now I just fill right out of the sink because I have to fill up such large quantities of water. I can't wait
Yes,
for the Brita to filter it. And I surely
exactly.
can't wait for the Brita to get cold. So now it's just straight out of the sink. So
See, my problem was more so it was too cold. I was like, I can't drink this
yeah.
fast enough without hurting my sensitive teeth. But that is funny. Yeah, I was like, I'm not using my hydro flask, so I was using no straw, just Nalgene, and I thought that worked better. But I can't remember the exact date, but I was going on about 4-hour drive with one of my coworkers for a work trip. And she was like, are you still going to be doing that 75 hard thing? I said, yes, it's day 6. And that was I remember that was the first day I was like, okay, I'm not going to drink water because I don't want us to have to stop 3 times on the way there and
Right.
back to use the bathroom. And I was doing that out of one, we had to get there at a certain time for work, but it was more of I'm not driving. This is not my car. I don't want us to have to stop and get there delayed. So I'm not going to drink all of my water that I usually drink. And I think I went back the next day, but it was still I'm not gonna make this unenjoyable and unpleasant for people that just happen to be with me at this time. But that was you can't control everything that's happening. And that was oh, I don't think I was planning when I said yes, I would go, that I would also be drinking a gallon of water every day. So that was a big okay, well, I already kind of messed up. But I think my goal, and I might have mentioned this in the first episode, was regardless, I'm just going to do a 75-day long experiment and just see how that goes. Ultimately, I wanted to be successful and do everything, but I also know that wasn't gonna be the likely outcome. Again, given the habits I have, the systems I have and don't have, but ultimately, it got to that point where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I need to go to bed. I have work tomorrow, but I'm supposed to go and do this 45-minute workout, and choosing happiness and going to bed versus my poor planning or my busy day. And I said, this is my choice. It's not supposed to be something that makes me more unhappy and depressed. I'm supposed to be doing this for self-growth. And that was kind of the tipping point for me where I was like, okay, if this is making me this upset, I'm not going to do it anymore. Yes, I think the whole point of the challenge is it's so much all at once. It's a lot of things to keep track of. But that was the point. If I was just trying to do one thing, I would have probably been more successful at it. But it's important to know yourself and recognize that maybe some changes have to happen if you're going to be consistent for 75 days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think it is still a good experiment in that it kind of shows you where your weak points are and shows you
Mhm.
like what maybe you need to reinforce before you can do something like the 75 hard. So learning how to make a system and things like that beforehand, and um even like diving more into like the systems and routines. It was funny, I was listening to the Mel Robbins podcast during the 75 hard, and she was describing, her rules for a morning routine that will make you more successful. And as she went through them, I was like, well, this is stuff that I'm already doing because of the 75 hard.
Mm.
So one of her rules was don't drink coffee or caffeine within the first hour of waking up. So I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I'm already doing that because I drink water first thing because I got to get water in,
Got
but
to.
also I go straight to the gym first thing. So I'm not
Mhm.
having coffee. So that is a little bit over an hour that I'm just drinking water, no coffee. And then another rule was get sunlight. And I'm getting sunlight. I'm going outside to go to the gym. So getting sunlight. Um, Also talks about like activity, and I'm like doing activity first thing.
Yeah.
So there's just so many things that ended up fitting really well. And it's just kind of funny how good habits kind of promote other good habits.
Yeah.
Even when you're talking about the sobriety aspect of it, I would still go out with friends. I just wouldn't drink. And then
Mhm.
I would be thinking, oh my gosh, I couldn't even have a drink right now because tomorrow I need to wake up and go to the gym.
Yeah.
So even thinking about how that good habit allowed me to make the most of my next day too,
Mhm.
it all just kind of plays into each other, which is why, I said earlier, it just feels like a slippery slope where like if one thing goes, it just feels like they all come like crumbling down. So really just about building them all together, but it can be hard to build them all together if you don't have that foundation built.
Yeah. And I think what we had talked about earlier too was, okay, how can we prepare for the 75 hard challenge?
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that Andy Frisella talks about is like, you can't prepare, you just got to do it and jump in. And like, again, I started reading like a week prior since we were starting at different times. And that was nice. I literally have not read more than I read like on the cruise. I was reading so much because I had nothing else to worry about. And that was great. But yeah, like I had plans to, okay, I'm gonna start going to the gym. So then I like am ready for when I have to go to the gym. And that just didn't happen. And my work schedule was more intense than usual and everything was just not aligning well. But it's interesting. I think that's one of the things we talked about when talking about the progress photo. I remember you were like, "Why do I have to do this progress photo?" But when you showed me your like day 1 versus like day 60, I was like, "Pam, this is crazy." I was like, "You can physically see like you're glowing in this photo and like not in this." And it's just wild like the that's why you do that. That's why that step exists is so you have the evidence because you're always like not as aware in your head that maybe there aren't any actual changes, but there they are.
Yeah, so let's talk about the changes. What changes did you experience?
I mean, for starters, drinking a gallon of water a day obviously probably has benefits for your skin and whatever, but I was using the bathroom all of the time.
All the time.
All the
All
time.
the time.
And I was waking up. I never wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I was constantly up at like 4 a.m. And it was just so annoying. I couldn't get much into work, or I couldn't drive, or I couldn't do anything because I was like, oh, I gotta be close to a bathroom.
Yeah, it was constantly planning my next bottle of water in accordance to when I would be near a toilet. It was
Yeah.
just, and you're right, like I never slept through the night. Not until like recently did I
Yeah.
begin to sleep through the night. It's a lot of water. It's a
It's
lot.
a lot of water. Yeah.
And I used
And
so
with
much toilet paper. I went
so
through so much toilet paper.
yeah, well, at some point I was like, okay, I'm gonna like use a random public restroom so I don't have to keep running through my toilet paper. And I think we both had it at the same time, but I didn't realize, but like my hands got so dry from washing my hands all the time.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, oh, my hands. And you were like, are your hands dry too? And I was like, yes. And so that was just like a weird,
I bet
like,
Andy is, well, I know he's not using toilet paper, and I bet he's not washing his hands, and that's why.
right.
That's why
Yeah.
he's able to do it.
Yeah, he doesn't talk about these little things on his podcast. Oh, goodness. But I think in addition to that, I realize how much I love walking outside. I think
Yeah.
that's something I think I should make more time for. I know people say you should walk after like every meal. I don't know if I can do all that, but I think just trying, like, even if it's not 45 minutes, just like a quick 5 minute, 10-minute walk, that was really nice. And even when I had friends, I was like, they were like, hey, do you want to hang out? I said, well, yeah, I actually have to go on this walk if you want to walk with me. So it was fun having people contribute and like be a part of it, or like making time to hang out that worked with the 75 hard challenge. I was like, yeah, if you come over, we're doing yoga and for 45 minutes on my floor. They were like, okay, sounds good. So that was fun. And I think it inspired other people to walk more or go outside and do other things. So that was like a fun, like, ripple effect.
Yeah. That is also something that people in my life discovered. If they wanted to hang out with me, they could be like, do you want to go on a walk? I'd be like, yes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And didn't you start going to different like fitness classes?
Yeah,
How was
I
that?
went to a Pilates class. It was a little above my skill set. Well, I mean, if we start with just like changes, I experienced so many changes through this challenge. So, um, really, I have not been a gym person. I've just been really out of touch with my body my whole life and just like what I have been physically capable of. Um,
Mhm.
and just movement was never really easy or intuitive for me. So when other kids would get really into like a sport or just even like
Yeah.
games that required running around, that was never anything that felt good in my body.
Mhm.
So I never did that. I never gained like muscle or like was fit in that way because it was just it wasn't something that like felt natural to me or felt good to me. So this decision to take like a physical risk really and go to the gym, work on my muscle tone, um, and like my cardiovascular endurance. That was pretty big for me. And
Mhm.
what might have been a smaller step for someone else was actually like a bigger step for me. So, just like going to Pilates class, like I was still struggling. Like I struggled to like support my own body weight, like in my upper body. So like some things were hard there, but I went to probably like 3 classes before they had like a little break in the classes that they were offering. So I plan to continue to go to some, but that was really cool for me to, after going to the gym consistently, because I didn't sign up for those until a little later in the challenge.
Mhm.
So after going to the gym consistently for 30 days, I was like, okay, now I'm going to try this. I now feel like I'm in a place where I can do that, just even stepping foot in the gym. So for me, I even with the workouts really worked my way up to feeling comfortable, where at the beginning it was just get to the gym. It didn't
Mhm.
matter what I did. If I was there, at least all I had to do was walk on the treadmill for 45 minutes and like read my Kindle. But as I got more comfortable doing that and less sleepy, because I also had to get used to the routine of being up
Mhm.
so early. So
Yeah.
sometimes it was just like I was like a zombie. But once I got comfortable with that and got into that routine, that's when I was like, okay, can I work in an upper body routine? Can I
Mhm.
work in some like core exercises? And just like slowly experimenting with different parts of the gym, different machines. So that was really cool. And I really have seen an improvement. It has been fun to see, the weight go up on the machines and being like,
Mhm.
whoa, I'm doing this and like feeling
Yeah.
myself get stronger. Um, I mean, something that might be really simple for other people, but like when I open doors, I've always like used my foot to push them a little bit because like I just haven't had a lot of upper body strength. But like now I'm like not relying so much
Yeah.
on that. Like I can open doors more easily. Also, I have an Apple Watch, so it's been cool to see some of those health statistics go up too. So
Hmm.
my VO2 max, which is supposed to be your cardiovascular fitness, you can see that in your health app settings. And I've just seen the number go up, 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 just like 0.2 every single day. Where at the beginning of last year, I was in below average fitness levels.
Hmm.
But as of yesterday, I am now in above average
There we
fitness levels,
go.
which is like really cool. Like, and
Yeah.
that's like a direct correlation to my health that I can like
Hmm.
see. So I'm pretty proud of that. I've been able to run further distances than I have before, for longer, faster. So it's just been really cool to see myself improve in that way.
Yeah, and I think just going off that real quick with the technology aspect is I think Apple Watch, Oura Ring, Garmin, I think all of those have that built-in, like, achievement, like, that's the
Hmm.
purpose of using them, and it's cool, like, when you get badges of, like, okay, your longest run, or this was, like, your PR, or you've worked out 7 days in a row, like, I think getting those things and, like, being able to see is just, like, another sign that you're being consistent.
Yeah.
I know, like,
Yeah.
trying to, like, close your Apple Watch rings every day, and I know at one point you and I were, like, competing on there, and
Hmm.
it's cool, like, okay, who can get the most steps and all those little things. Like, I understand why people at the gym are so obsessed with the gym because it is like a little game. You see the numbers go up, you can like take those progress pictures or videos and like actually see physical changes. And I think you were good to be like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the gym. We're gonna hang out there for 45 minutes, see what happens. And then, okay, now this chunk of the challenge, we're gonna change things up and like push yourself further. Cause it is scary. And that's something I think for most people, they're like, oh, I can go to the gym, that's fine. But they are struggle with like the reading part or something.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, the gym I think will always be like my biggest hurdle too.
Yeah. You talked about gamifying it, and I think that is so interesting when we think about the context of ADHD and what works for us and what doesn't. And you're right, like my mind really locked on to the, oh, we can make the numbers go up. And that is
Hmm.
fun. Like it's fun to see progress, but you have to have a foundation in order to see progress, which is
Hmm.
why it can be so difficult. Like we talked about this in other episodes too, with like the singing episode, right? Like
Hmm.
learning a skill. It can be pretty disheartening to start something and not be very good at it and not see progress.
Yeah.
But you have to get through that initial like discomfort to get to the fun part where you can
Hmm.
master more things and just make it into a game and challenge yourself. Um, so it can be ADHD friendly if you get past a certain point.
Yeah.
The water was also a big thing for my skin, which if you're
Mm.
watching the video, you can really tell my skin has improved. Going back to our Reddit episode of asking for appearance advice, I kind of want to write to them and let them know my skin's
Water.
looking better. Um, but it is wild thinking about that episode and all the advice they gave me of different products that I should buy that might improve my
Hmm.
skin, different things that I could do. I don't think anyone said drink more water,
Yeah.
but that's really the only change I made to my skin, and it's looking so much better. And so I guess I have to keep up
Hmm.
that. Maybe not the
Yeah.
gallon.
Yeah.
I have to see like if I can tolerate a different amount that would
Hmm.
still get these effects, but um, the water has been amazing.
And that's what people were like, "Do you really drink a gallon of water? Like, what are the effects of water?" And I was like, "Okay, they are better than you think." And
Yes.
I think it's true. Like, there are so many physical changes that can happen. So sometimes that is the best skincare product out there.
Yeah, it is.
One of the things I thought we'd talk about was our book club. So I finally got to use Fable that Pam's been trying to get me to use. And it was so fun. Fable has a calendar view where you can keep track of the books that you read each day. And as someone who doesn't read that often or doesn't log, every time that they read, it was fun just seeing the books. But they also have like the book club feature, which was fun. So I could add a book club, show the book that we were reading, and Pam and I could talk about it once we reached certain points in the book. I really enjoyed that aspect of it because we talk about the books, we could see, our physical progress. But I think choosing to like read the same book together was fun.
Yeah, it was great just to see what you thought about certain things and like make comments on the book club and see what stood out to you and different quotes. I really am enjoying the book that I'm reading. I don't know if you've gotten to this book, Carissa. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I'm really I'm really enjoying Let Them Theory, which is one of the books that I'm reading. It's just been something that I needed to hear. I've really loved that. Mel Robbins has kind of been the narrator of my 75 hard journey. She's kind of like a much nicer Andy Frisella,
Yeah.
who really supports you. But I really got into that too, where it was the self-help books, but then also like a lot of the self-help podcasts that I was listening to, which is not part of the challenge. But
Mhm.
I just was in such a transformation self-help mode that I just wanted to learn more and more about what I could do to improve myself. So was listening to a lot of Mel Robbins and also reading her book, and highly recommend Let Them Theory if people haven't read it.
And the other two books that we've read, so we read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and he takes more of like a storyteller approach where he'll explain a random phenomenon that took place in like the middle of Wyoming and how because of this small town thing led to this bigger thing. But he's really good at showing you multiple stories and how they can all like have great impacts. And our first book was by Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. What did you think of our selections for our 75 Hard Book Club?
I thought Gifts of Imperfection was fine. I think it was a really good starter self-help book, but I do read a lot of self-help, so it felt like it was kind of the same ideas and same things as I read in a lot of others. It was also a very short book, so I think part of that was it was just an overview of a lot of different concepts, and I'm used to reading a book about like each concept in depth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that was okay. Tipping Point was cool to learn about, but also didn't feel super relevant to anything that I would ever do.
Yeah.
Because it's so Tipping Point is all about how change happens, how things become epidemics. So, how does one person doing one thing turn into a whole group of people doing things? And how does that, affect society? And how can we do that in a positive way? And that's great, but I don't affect change on a grand scale. Um, so I think it's cool to know what you're influenced by and
Mm-hmm.
how you might influence other people. And it was cool to hear about different types of people who influence change and kind of connect them to different people in my life of like, oh yeah, this is a person who, everyone will follow blindly, or this is a person who has all the information. So that was cool, but didn't feel as directly applicable to my life.
I feel like we both read Outliers by him, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that maybe be a better pick for a 75 hard. I'm not sure about his other books, but yeah, I do think, like you said, Brene Brown was a good starter book. I think this one just gave a variety of different things, and I've heard great things about Mel Robbins' book. So
Yeah.
there was so many different suggestions on like Reddit of what people think are like the best books to read during 75 hard. I think there's so many out there that I'm still like, oh, I should probably still read this regardless, but I could read it on my Kindle or on the audiobook version too. I think that was the hard thing is it's harder to habit stack with 75 hard because I cannot walk and read or anything like that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it'd be nice to have an audiobook or something right now.
Well, I had this moment where I had to do my workout and I had to read. So I brought my Kindle and the book, like the 75 hard book that I was reading to the gym. So I first had to take out the physical book and read the physical book while I was walking on the treadmill. And then when I was done with just my 10 pages, because we were reading it together, so I wasn't going to read more than 10 pages,
Yeah.
then I had to switch from my physical book to my Kindle. And I'm like, I must look crazy that I brought a whole library into the gym. But it was just, and I also had to bring the book everywhere with me. So if any
Yeah.
weekend trips that I was taking, I had to remember to bring my physical book. It was just a little
Mhm.
harder than just bringing my Kindle, you know?
I tried reading once on the treadmill and did not. I feel like I was gonna fall off. So props to you. I don't know if it was just the looking down or just I don't know, but I that is not set up for success for me.
No, I loved it. It was great. How was
That's good.
the diet for you?
Oh, I started with a Mediterranean diet, and I think part of that was fun because I think a lot of the foods I like anyway, so I eat a lot of like more seafood, but there were some things where I remember it was hard because I think with my job, there's a lot of free food that's
Mm-hmm.
available, and it was really hard to either like, okay, I'm not gonna take something just because it's convenient, or I remember trying to justify why it is okay if I do some things. Like, for example, we catered in Raising Cane's. I was like, "Okay, this is a fried piece of chicken. I shouldn't eat this." So I, like, literally picked the breading off to just eat the chicken. I was like, "This surely is healthier." So that was kind of hard just because I didn't realize how much food is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go grab this. You wanna come?" Or, "Hey, I made this." And I was like, "Okay, it's a little bit tricky." So being more intentional about, okay, going to the store, I'm gonna buy this stuff. I, like, made this, like, Greek salad/bowl thing that was super nice and easy if you just, like, prepped all the veggies in time and you just add them, and that was super fun because that was super filling. I, like, had brown rice. It was all of, like, the right things, cucumbers, feta, olives. It didn't feel restrictive, and I was still full, like, afterwards. If I didn't eat it all, I would save it and eat it later, which was nice. I think all in all, it was a great way to explore different foods that I usually wouldn't try and to just tweak some of the foods I do get. I remember I went to Chipotle, and I was like, Mediterranean diet friendly Chipotle. So I got like a salad instead of a bowl, and I got like brown rice instead of white rice, and avoided certain things and tried other things. I was like, this isn't that bad. This is still great. It still works, but I didn't have time to cook and it was like easy and convenient. But other than that, I think that's where the planning would really come into play. So if I like meal prepped, I could see that helping and making that part really easy.
It was going to do the Mediterranean diet, but then I switched last minute before starting to just a calorie deficit. And I was going back and forth on it, but then I ended up deciding a calorie deficit was going to be the most flexible for my lifestyle because
Mhm.
similarly, we get a lot of free food at work. And it's just, I'm in a lot of situations where either social situations or gatherings where I don't get to choose what is being served. And
Mhm.
for me, it just felt a little easier to restrict portions or restrict certain types of things that were available rather than eliminating whole food groups because there's usually a way to make something a little bit more low calorie, but sometimes it's hard to eat ingredients that just physically aren't present. So,
Mhm.
that made things a little easier for me, and I kinda got to a good place with the calorie deficit of it felt less like restriction, but felt more like just knowing what foods were going to fuel me the best because I couldn't do a calorie deficit and just do really highly dense calorie foods because then I would just be hungry at the end of the day, and that wasn't the goal. So it
Mhm.
was a lot of thinking about, how do I fill my plate with vegetables to make sure that it's a lower calorie but also filling option that is going to make me feel good. So it kind of started to be like kinda like a budget, like, "This is my budget for the day. How am
Mm.
I gonna get the things that I need within this budget?" And just starting to take account of, like, what things, quote, unquote, "cost" to eat and
Mhm.
knowing the regular things that I tend to eat, how many calories are in it, so when does it make sense to have a treat versus
Mhm.
something that is more filling depending on the other things that I've eaten. So, it was really an educational experience for me, and I really appreciate it. And just like knew what was feeling better in my body through it.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. I think a lot of people blindly eat things and they don't really realize what they're consuming. So it's like you train yourself to recognize, okay, this is like a cup if you're portioning things
Mm-hmm.
out. Or, oh, I know that if I should probably have this salad dressing versus this one, or just like random things like that. Like that's a lot of good knowledge that a lot of people aren't taught in schools. That I think like nutrition classes are like super important. And I think you get a lot of that information like you talked about. Did you ever like find yourself like bringing things to other places? Like I remember I was packing some snacks because I knew like I was going to my book club that also serves food. But I'm like I'm not going to order like tater tots. I'm going to eat like what I packed because I can eat my cucumbers and hummus and be fine. So I was trying to do that, but did you ever run into that?
I didn't, not during my calorie deficit through
Mhm.
75 hard. I have done that when I was doing Whole30 about a year
Mhm.
ago because it was eliminating like whole food groups and things like that. Which is really the reason why I did the calorie deficit is because I didn't want to be messing around like bringing food. I would say my equivalent of that was just not being able to eat something that other people were eating. So if I were
Mhm.
to go to, you know, that event that you were going to, I just probably wouldn't eat any tater tots. I
Mhm.
would just make sure that I ate dinner beforehand. Or
Yeah.
if I knew that was going to happen, then like my lunch might have been a lot of broccoli so
Yeah.
that I was full but still had a lot of calories left over. But also, I I was just in a slight deficit, so
Mhm.
it was where if I made sure that I still had, like, 3 square meals a day, I still had extra calories left over, so there was always something fun that I could eat every
Mhm.
day that was within my plan. Also, working out twice a day was kind of a benefit because I got to eat more calories because I was
Mhm.
working out twice a day. So,
Hmm.
which is what you should do, right? If you
Yeah.
are burning more calories and you want to get more calories in unless you're trying to have like a much more significant weight loss, but that wasn't my goal there. Um so
Mhm.
it I had a lot of calories that I could still eat, so I still felt like I didn't have to make too many sacrifices if I was being intentional about it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. What did you use to keep track of everything? I know I kept running into having to like do mental math of like, okay, this is my first water bottle, this is my second water bottle.
Yeah, so I tried a couple of different apps. And there's always ads. Like, it was really just there was so many, like, paywalls behind things of
Mhm.
I was trying a water app, but the water app, if I wanted to decide how many ounces of water to input, then I would have to upgrade to Water Pro. Or if I, like, wanted to change my goal, then I had to use the paid version of the app. So, it was just,
Oh.
like and, like, every single one or, like, I remember I was trying to log like 1 cup of water, and it was like giving me all these things of like, okay, you can only log 8 ounces at a time unless you want to pay for it. I was like, fine. So I was logging 8 ounces at a time. But then after every cup that I logged, it was like, yay, do you want to do this? Or it was like, now you've earned a super llama. And then I was like, oh my God, I just want to write down how many, like, please stop. And it would be like, you gained this. If you pay for this, then you can make it a super mega llama. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
oh my God. So,
Are we gamifying too much as a society?
yes, I think that's the thing. I was like, at some point, had to be closing pop ups every 5 seconds.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that app got deleted. So I ended up just using, because I was using MyFitnessPal for calories. So I
Mhm.
found in there was a water tracker. So I just ended up doing that. And it's very simple. You just type in the number of ounces that you have drank and it adds it to the
Yeah.
total. There's no like goal. So it doesn't tell you how close you are to the goal. It's just how many
Tracking.
ounces have you had? So there's that. And then, like I mentioned, I had in my notes app all the tasks that I had to do.
Mhm.
And I was just checking those off every day and just copying and pasting that template. But I also tried some like habit apps to
Hmm.
track it. And those were also doing too much because, well, they started syncing with my Apple Watch. So it was like my minutes of activities, and it was doing too much. Again, it was doing too much. So I think honestly, like the most simple, just checking things off. Like I know we talked about maybe doing like a habit tracker, like a habit chart.
Mm. Mhm.
I think that would be my ideal because the technology was actually kind of getting in the way for me.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people just do the, like, sticky note method where they
Mhm.
cover, they'll do, like, the 75 sticky notes, they'll take one off, or they'll, like, check each sticky note or something, or they buy the 75 hard app, and that helps you keep track. But, yeah, I think I wasn't keeping track that way. I I guess I just knew, I guess how much water I was drinking. And I obviously used, like, my Apple Watch for workouts. My Apple Watch battery sucks though, side tangent, and sucks all the time. So, like, by 5 o'clock when I was doing my walk, it would be dead. So I would have to do, like, a physical timer on my phone or just, like count up. Usually, I would just go over the 45 minutes, but I don't, like, have, like, a 45-minute route that I would take every day. So I was like, "All right, let me look at my phone." And then I had to pause it because I had to go pee. So
Mhm.
I would pause it, go into a building, go pee, and then keep walking. But, I think because of the challenge, just because of my battery life anyways, I upgraded to a Garmin, which is fun, and the Garmin has a built-in water tracking feature, which is nice, so I
Nice.
could use that in the future. But, yeah, technology and gamification, I think, work so far until it's annoying.
You mentioned having to stop a workout to pee, and I think that is fine. But through this, I actually was reading a lot of the Reddit threads about 75
Mm.
Hard, and some of these people are so diehard about it, which, like, I kind of get, but also it was getting to a ridiculous point where people were debating, like, does it count to walk your dogs as a workout?
Oh,
Of
right.
like,
Yeah.
okay, so you're walking your dogs, which you were going to do anyway, and maybe you walk a little longer because it's 75 hard, but it has
Yeah.
another purpose besides working out. And people were like, that breaks the rules because you should only work out for the purpose of working out. You can't do something you were going to do anyway. And like at the beginning of the challenge, I was walking to the store and like pausing just to grab something inside and then like continuing on my walk, dropping off a library book, coming back. Like not long breaks in between, but like I was choosing to walk to the grocery store instead of driving to the grocery store. But like according to the Reddit threads I was reading, I would have been over like day 2 because
Disqualified.
you can't you can't complete any other tasks while you're doing your workouts, which is just frustrating. And I get the purpose. It's a challenge, yada, yada, whatever. I get it. Difficult. It's 75 difficult.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's also not a way to incorporate fitness and wellness in your life normally because
Mhm.
that's what's going to be sustainable for me if I can realize like, oh, I can walk to the store instead of driving and then continuing
Yeah.
to do that because my body doesn't know if I got an apple or not. It just knows that I walked and that it's good for me.
Yeah.
My body doesn't know that I dropped off a library book. It's all the same.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, why it's kind of like, I think we can be believers in 75 hard, but also realize it's flawed and not, like, realistic for everyone. Because, yeah, I don't think we're die-hard cutthroat, like, "Oh, 45 minutes, no water, no stopping, keep" like, I don't like,
I
that's not
did
what we're doing.
I did read a Reddit thread where someone posted, they're like, I'm on like day 50. I was going for a run and I was going to poop myself. He was like, it was so bad. I couldn't hold it. I had to go. Paused my workout on my watch. I went in the porta potty and then I continued. And he was like, did I fail the 75 hard? And everyone was like, oh my God, no, you're good. You're good. Don't worry. But like, these were the conversations of like, he was like, oh my gosh, I think I failed because of the way that people are so crazy about what counts or what doesn't count. Pausing your workouts.
I think this is a good segue of like, what did we take away? Will we keep doing it? What's next in our like habits and wellness journey?
Yeah. I think I definitely want to continue doing it. And part of me almost thinks like I might just always be attempting it in a way. And we'll see if I ever get to 75 days and maybe just be more flexible with myself of I might end it for whatever reason, but just continuing. I'm, still going to the gym every morning, still trying to drink as much water as I can. I really want to continue all these habits. I'm a reader anyway, so I'm excited to have just the flexibility of what I read and when and how. So that isn't going to change too much for me. But I mean, I really do like these habits. I think I'm just not going to do them to the extreme that Andy has me do. And just continue them. Like I even think with fitness, it's going to be more about closing my Apple Watch rings because it's less about the consecutiveness of it or even having the space in between the workouts. Like I think that was just like a rule to make things difficult, right? But if I can do, a couple 25-minute walks, that might be way easier than fitting in 2 45-minute ones, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be more about what difference does it make rather than just doing something because it's difficult. So if I'm still getting the same results, I'm going to go with the easier way to get them.
I totally forgot about the 3 to 4 hours in between each workout. That was so annoying because if I did my first workout at 5, my next one, I was doing like 11 p.m. walks.
Which is why like I had to do my first workout at
6.
At 7.
Yeah, it makes you structure things out. I think for me, a lot of it was, recognizing the gaps that I have in my current like system, which I don't think there is one. And I think that's okay. And I think that's like a great baseline to go from. Because I do think I could be more successful in other ways. And I think what you said is, I think every day is going to be an attempt at 75 hard. And I think that is the goal. I think it's supposed to be this thing that you wake up to, you set out to do every day. And maybe you do like this great workout, you drink all this water, but maybe you don't read a book. And that's okay, because tomorrow maybe you'll read and you won't do a walk. And I think it's about making that intentional effort. And some days it showed me, wow, this isn't really that bad. I could easily incorporate this. Other days, it was the worst thing ever. And I was like, I hate this stupid challenge. But I think I realize I do like reading more. I realize it is like a fun way to, connect with people. And you talk about like the benefits of water and all of these things. And I think, it's a good thing to just be mindful of every day. I realize I do like cooking and I enjoy like those things. So how can I still incorporate that in like maybe a less restrictive way? Or it's a good challenge. I just think it can be a lot all at once for sure. There's this YouTuber I watch, and he talked about how he did 75 hard, and after that he continued not drinking, and he had just hit 500 days of sobriety. And I just think that is such a wild thing, how something as like simple as this, because that's a thought I had. I was like, I don't think I'm missing out on things. I think it's sure it can be fun when it's there and like in different settings, but it was not by any means a necessity. I did not feel left out of things, and it was a cheaper and healthier alternative. And I could definitely see myself not having like that set standard of, oh, I'm going out, I'm gonna drink. I don't think it has to be that. So that was a very cool thing where I think obviously that was like the biggest part of the challenge for me. So I think continuing that in different ways and just being more intentional about that habit is one that'll stick with me.
So do we think that we're going to attempt the Live Hard challenge?
Absolutely not.
The Live Hard challenge is like a level up I forget if we talked about this on part 1, but basically it's
I don't
the
think
rules of
so.
75 hard, but then like every like 75 days you add on like more and more things, like add a cold shower and add like at the end you're like saying a nice thing to a stranger every day, which is nice. I really enjoy that.
Which
But
is
it's like
nice.
yeah, it's I'm reading 10 pages and taking a cold shower and also calorie deficit and also calling my mom, and it's like it's it's a lot of things just to
It's a
get done
lot
in
of
one day.
things.
So I don't think you'll ever
Yeah.
see us complete the Live Hard challenge.
No. No, I don't think that's in store for us. I think maybe in the far distant future I could attempt it again, but I think that'll be I won't tell anyone I'm doing it. I'll just tell myself.
I won't tell
And
anyone,
we'll
but there
see.
will be signs.
Yeah, my skin so clear. No, I think at its core it has a lot of great things that you can take away from it. I just think it can be a lot depending on the systems you have in place and your reality of what is going on day to day outside of this. Like, I couldn't imagine having kids, taking them to school, having to cook them dinner. Like, if I'm struggling, just me, me, myself, and I couldn't imagine having a million other people that are dependent on me.
That's the thing. Like I know in like episode 1 we talked about how anyone can do it, and Andy talks about like all sorts of people have completed it.
Mhm.
There are definitely some people who can complete it easier than others
Mhm.
just based off of
For sure.
your life and what you have access to and what you have to do, what you can't say no to. So I can
Mhm.
say no to a lot of things in my life, but not everyone can. I will also say like
Mhm.
money gets you access to things. So certain gyms and what time they're open, or access to time saving things. So if you
Mhm.
can, buy a meal system like Factor, for example, where you don't even need to
Mm.
think about what you are eating,
Yeah.
paying that or paying someone to do something so that you can go to the gym. Um,
Yeah.
there's there's a lot there, and not everyone
Yeah.
has access to the same things to make life easier, because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, this is while it is a mental toughness challenge, it's a time management challenge.
Yeah.
And there's
100%.
other ways to manage time besides being good at it. Not everyone has the same 24 hours to work with.
Well, I'm glad we got to finally debrief this. I still have a few days left of my 75 days, but I'm glad that we can say we tried again, we've closed this chapter, and we are moving forward with life.
Yeah, and I mean, even though I didn't make it the full 75 days, I still feel like I got all the benefits that were promised. I
Mhm.
honestly was in day like 7 or something, and I was like, well, I already figured out how to fit in my schedule, and now this is just kind of my routine. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what else I have to learn.
Yeah, you
And
said, "I'm bored, I'm done."
I mean, really not too much changed besides me starting to enjoy the things.
Mhm.
So I do feel like I got all the benefits of the challenge, even though I only made it technically to 44, but then like really to 60, because 44 was not any like, that was just the progress picture. So I still feel like I got the
Yeah.
results that were promised. I still
Mhm.
feel transformed. So um, even though I didn't complete the challenge, I feel that it was a success for me.
And I feel happy for you that you've done that. But I think it's one of those things that you know if you go to the gym, you eat right, you drink water, that there will be signs and you will see them. And I think for me it's more so the doing step. So I don't think I'll stop. I just think I'll be more realistic with the goals I set, the systems I have, and hopefully that's something that I can work on this summer. So
Great. Well, speaking of this summer, we are back for our summer season, season 2. We have a lot of great things planned for this season, a lot of just getting back to taking care of ourselves, enjoying the whimsy of summer, and we're really excited for that. So stay tuned for episodes every Wednesday. Make sure that you're subscribed so you know when we put out a new podcast. But it was great having a hiatus, but even better to be back. So stay tuned for what's to come. Bye.
Bye.